Welcome back to the show once again. Of course, if you watch this program at all, you know that we are wine lovers.
We are.
Not connoisseurs, but we're trying our hardest.
We're just very interested, and everybody's favorite time of year, if you love wine, is when the wine festival comes around. And we have some great wines to try today with Aurelio Montest from Montes Wines. How are you?
Chile, how are you? Nice to see you.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me here.
It's a pleasure.
It's really a pleasure.
Well, it must be nice for you to come into winter for a little while.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We're suffering a very warm summer, actually, down there in Chile. We're in the beginning of our harvest now.
Yeah.
So I enjoy a little bit, the rain. So
how much of your heart and your mind is always in the vineyard and thinking about the weather and checking weather patterns, even when you're traveling around the world?
Well, 99% of my time I got my mind in the vineyard, although I spent part of it traveling.
Yeah.
I always see, the weather reports, what's going on there. Yeah. I keep in contact with my winemakers and the team down in Chile and knowing what's going on there. It's very important.
So tell us about your winery and the wines you brought today and how you got started and when.
Yeah. Well, actually, I started in the Catholic University in Santiago de Chile to be an agronomist, and then I discovered wine while I was in the university. Yeah. It wasn't part of my family, unless Sunday lunches and so on.
Right.
So I decided to study enology. I loved it, and then I worked for 2 big companies in Chile as a winemaker. Mm-hmm. And my speech was, well, let's try to go further and produce a better quality wine. But Chile was known just for a good value for money, and that was about it.
Yeah, this was, I mean, in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to international scope. You were there at the beginning of the Chilean wine.
Well, actually, after 15 years working as a winemaker for these companies, and I had my speech, and because I was unheard, I decided to quit my job and start my own thing.
Why not?
If you won't listen, fine.
And you were the first to plant on the hills, and we've got some beautiful photos. Tell us about that and where this is.
Well, if you want to succeed in the wine, which has already been discovered since, old areas, it's a biblical thing. You need to be different. So then we started with a big revolution in viticulture, planting the slopes, the hillsides, where you can really concentrate the grapes and get a better quality.
Mm-hmm. And different varietals and experimenting, I guess, is a huge part of it.
And in Chile, it's winemaking is an old thing, but we were using and reusing the same old varieties. So I decided to bring some new stuff. So I made, an agreement with the NTAV in France. Yeah. And we bought special, varieties and clones, to refresh.
Did other people think you were crazy? I mean, when you were doing this?
Probably.
Because I know winemakers have experienced that here in Canada, but you have to try, right?
Well, you have to be different. And then when we started, clearing hillsides and planting slopes, we were meant to be crazy. Yeah.
So, there goes Aurelio again.
Well, you must go to the valley floor, which is very easy to plant, but it's not where you get the best quality.
Right.
So I started buying hillsides, pulling rocks and trees out, taking pipelines, to take the watering system and everything. So we were meant to be very crazy, but we succeeded because we rose the quality.
We've got some beautiful photos of your barrel room, and maybe you can tell us about the ambiance and what makes this room special.
It's like a wine
actually,
theater.
also at the level of the winery, we are different. Our winery is Feng Shui inspired, so everything is put in place in the correct way. The wood, the stones, the water, which is a very important part, and the music. So we have music. In our barrel room, we play Gregorian chants the whole day long in the barrels, and that makes the place so nice to work in. For our workers, for myself actually. And people tell me, what's the effect of music in wine? I said, to be honest, I don't have a real idea, but I love it.
But you like it?
I love that. And then I work, in a happier way. The workers, are really, they feel safe. They feel
Why Feng
happy.
Shui? That's really unusual. I've never heard of that before.
Well, Feng Shui, it's, let's call it an art, or it's a discipline, an Asian discipline, in which you just put things together in a way that it makes...
aura.
But why with the wine? Why for you?
Well, because Feng Shui goes with anything, and wine is not an exception. So if you got, the correct light coming in, you got water flowing everywhere, that makes the atmosphere so easy and nice to work in. Yeah. And you got music everywhere.
You have happy wine, happy people.
well, we're here to be happy in the world.
Aurelio, I really believe that, though, and as you immerse yourself in wine, as your palate develops, everything else, you understand that that it's a representation of everything that goes into it. It's a representation of the earth, the grape, the sun, the rain, the water, the purple.
That's correct.
You know, everybody that touches it ends up in the bottle at some point.
Absolutely. No, it's amazing when someone opens a bottle of wine and just drinks it. You know, you could never imagine the work that there's behind the bottle of wine. So many people that broke their back, you know, going into the vineyard, pruning the vineyard, you know, selecting the irrigation process and this and that, and then the winemaking, the barrel aging, and so on. There's a lot of work to produce some good.
do that.
You've been kind enough to open a bottle.
Yeah.
Tell us about this bottle and what's inside.
Well, this is one of our most, you know, well-renowned brands, which is our Montes Alpha Cabernet Sauvignon. It's a selection of our top grapes coming all from the hillsides. We keep the wine for nearly 14 months in small French oak barrels, and then we play the music to them to make the wine happy. And after that, the wine goes into the bottle, rests in the bottle for a while, and then it's shipped to the market. And this is one of the best wines that we produce. It's very popular. We got very good, you know, write-ups and scores on these wines. And why don't we try it?
Yeah,
Why
we'd
not?
love to. And as we talk about it, you can see beside as well, you brought the Montes Alpha Chardonnay as well.
As
which
well,
is,
yeah.
Another one. And then we have a little bit of a progression that sort of shows your progression through the wine business as well.
Well, absolutely, yeah. When we started and we succeeded, you know, doing our wines, we started moving forward. So then we produced, you know, the Chardonnay. We went for the Malbec. We went for the Merlot as well. So we have a big range of things going on. And then after a while, then we moved to Argentina. So we flew on top of the Andes. We landed in Argentina.
And that's this one here.
This is our wine that is called Caiquén, and that's the native word for wild goose. It's Caiquén.
And you can see them right there.
And you can see the little, you know, birds flying there. And then as we moved forward in Argentina and we succeeded over there, we're among the 15 top exporters from Argentina in a short period of time. Then we moved to Napa Valley and we created this Napa Angel wine.
You're taking over the world.
Well, we're invading the world.
But how fascinating for you as well as a winemaker to get such direct experience in all these different regions, all these different terroirs, and stretch yourself. And it must all feed back and all feed together as well, the experiences that you have in different climates.
And you know, the wonderful part of it, that we have opposite, you know, seasons there. So when I'm in harvest over there, you are in the winter.
Right, how fascinating.
And then when you're in summer, I'm in the winter. So I got my muscles, you know, warming up the whole year because I move back and forth. Yeah.
Well,
This
cheers to
is
you.
beautiful.
We're going to tell you that as a wine enthusiast, you too can meet Aurelio and taste his wines at the Vancouver Playhouse International Wine Festival tasting, which starts tonight and goes through till Saturday. There's so many great people in town, so many fantastic wines. Go to the website to find out about all the events. Thank you so much.
Feng Shui works, barrels, everything. That is absolutely stunning. Beautiful, beautiful wine.
Thank you so much for this invitation. And cheers.
Thank you.
Our
Cheers.
pleasure.
Cheers.
Salud.
Cheers. Salud.
We're going to take a break.